Hello, my name is Paige. Welcome to my channel, Paperbacks and Lattes, and today I will be telling you my favorite standalone books in 2020. So I recently just released a video of my top 20 books of 2020. But I didn't want to just stop there because I read so many great books. So I am splitting this up between standalones and series. So this video, of course, are my favorite standalone books that I read in 2020. And I will also do another video of my favorite books that I read that are part of a series. So let's go ahead and start. The first one on my list is Marriage for One by Ella Mays. I absolutely adored this book, of course rated it highly. And this is a girl who is trying to get this building to open her own coffee shop, but there are people in her family that are standing in her way, and the stipulation for owning this building is by being married. And so she marries her lawyer, and it is a fake marriage trope, but of course along the way they start having feelings for each other, and they fall in love. And he's kind of a grumpy hero, and how he takes care of her in this book and shows her that his love for her is just amazing, and I absolutely adored this book. The next one is Someday by Emma Scott. This is a male-male romance. This has a lot to do with addiction, and both heroes have suffered from addiction. The first, I can't remember their names, but the first one of the heroes is a nurse, and he begins this new job to help take care of this like high-profile client who is sick. And he meets his son, and they are, attracted to each other. And he has been an addict before, but is clean now and goes to, like the AA meetings. And there he also meets his son in those meetings because his client's son is dealing with addiction himself. This was a wonderful book. I loved seeing the struggles that they both went through and how they overcame those struggles and found love with each other. The next one is Heartbreak Warfare by Heather M. Oregon. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but this is a military romance. The heroine is married and they have a child, and they are both in the military, and she is shipped overseas. And while she is deployed overseas, she meets, there's a guy overseas with her, and they are, attracted to each other, but she would never do anything to, she would never cheat on her husband. She loves him very much. But then something terrible happens. They are both captured. They are prisoners of war. They are horribly abused, and when they're rescued, she's just not the same. And the only person who knows what she went through is the guy who was captured with her. And so she is trying to live a normal life again, but she has terrible PTSD from what happened to her. And this is her journey of, trying to come back, and live the life that she was supposed to live. And this was a heartbreaking story. It made me cry, but it was also so good at the same time. The next book is Eleanor and Gray by Brittany C. Cherry. Eleanor and Gray both knew each other when they were children. They, had a little spark of romance when they were, teens. They are separated and meet back up years later. Eleanor has just gone through this horrible time, and she gets a job for being a nanny for his children. And he had married and had children, but his wife died, and now he is just dealing with all that grief, and he's not the same man, that she used to know. And this is their story of, coming back together, a second chance, and just, it really deals a lot with his grief, her grief, and the children's grief also. This book made me cry because it really touched on a lot of things that have affected me personally. And so I really felt, you know, where the characters were coming from. This was such an emotional ride through this book, but it was so amazing at the same time. The next one is Disgrace by Brittany C. Cherry. This is about a girl who has been married, but she is in a loveless marriage. They have had a lot of, you know, just struggles, and she moves back to her hometown, and there she meets like the town black sheep. He is, I think he owns the like automotive garage in the town. His dad is like the town's drunk, and they are just really looked upon poorly. And she befriends him, and she comes from a well-to-do family in the town, and so everybody is just shocked. But you know, she knows that there's more to him than what the town sees and realizes, and this was their romance. The next one is Savaged by Mia Sheridan. This was about a girl who's like a cop or some type of detective, and she comes to this small town to try to solve this crime that's happened. There's somebody that has been murdered, and they discover this man who has practically grown up in the wild, and you discover that he was kidnapped when he was little, and he was brought up in this horrible situation where he pretty much was just put out into the wild, left to fend for himself and survive. He's never had had much human contact, and so he's very wild and very, you know, savage, and this was their romance. I really loved the wild aspect, and that, you know, he was like a loner, and he kind of had to when he came, you know, back into society, he had to learn everything, but she was there with him through all of it. The next one is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This does not come as a shock. I think everybody loves Birthday Girl, but this is about Jordan, who was in a relationship with her boyfriend, but they are kicked out of their apartment, so they go live with her boyfriend's dad, and she and the dad have insane chemistry. They're attracted to each other, and they both try to fight these feelings because, you know, there's such a huge age gap, and, you know, she's with, you know, his son. But I love this one. This is the best age gap I think I've ever read. The next one is Written in the Scars by Adriana Locke. This was such an emotional read as well. This is about a couple who was married and has been having marriage troubles. Their marriage has been struggling, and he, you know, she kind of like told him to leave, and he did. And it just really broke her heart that he did leave, because she really didn't mean it. And when he comes back, he realizes that she is the one he loves, and he will do anything to fight for their marriage. And this was such an emotional book. There are a lot of other elements to this book that are emotional, but it was so good at the same time. Next one is The Simple While by K.A. Tucker. This is about a girl who has never really known her dad, and because he left, she was born in Alaska, but her mom couldn't take, you know, like being out in the middle of nowhere, so she moved back to the city, and so she's never really known her dad. But now her dad has cancer, and he is going to die, so she visits Alaska to try to get to know her dad. And there she meets Jonah, who is one of her dad's pilots, and it's kind of like a hate to love situation at first, because Jonah really picks on her. But as they come to know each other, feelings develop, and this was their romance. The next one is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is about a girl and a guy who are just, you know, they are so in love, and they have been in love, I think, since high school. But then something happens to where when he is traveling, his plane goes down, and so he is presumed dead. And several years pass by, you know, she is just stricken with grief. But several years go by, and she realizes, you know, that she needs to move on, because, you know, he's gone, and there's, you know, nothing she can do about it. And she starts to live her life again, and she starts to date someone else. And then, you know, they are in this relationship, you know, they become engaged. And then her old boyfriend, who they presume dead, shows back up because he has been found. And so now she has to choose, you know, who will she choose? You know, she loves them both. This was so good. I loved it so much. You didn't even know who she was going to choose until the very end. And I love a really good written love triangle. The next one is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This one was pretty hilarious at times, and the hero and the heroine are both sister and brother to the bride and groom of this wedding, and they are the only ones who don't eat from the buffet at the wedding, and everybody else turns out to be sick except for them. So they take the honeymoon because so it won't go to waste, because it's non-refundable, and they have to pretend to be married, and even though they can't stand each other. And so there's a lot of forced proximity when they're on their honeymoon, and it was so funny and really enjoyable. And they start to realize that maybe they don't not like each other. Maybe they really do, and feelings start to develop. The next one is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. This was an extremely emotional book. This is about a girl who goes to stay with her brother for a while she's, you know, trying to land on her own feet. And her brother is a pilot, and she meets his friend who is also a pilot, and he's just going through a really hard time because he has a lot that he's dealing from his past. He has never gotten over it. He kind of, you know, doesn't live life to the fullest because he just can't get over what happened. And this is, you know, feelings develop between them, but, you know, he feels like he can't give her his all because of all of what he's still hung up on. So, and this was about him working through all that in their romance. The next one is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. This is about a girl who moves to this small town, and there she meets the town's loner, the town recluse. He is deaf and nobody understands him. There's a lot from the backstory of his family, of why he's kind of, you know, shunned, and everybody just kind of avoids him. But she sees more to him than everybody else does, and her dad was deaf, so she's able to do sign language with him to communicate with him, and she becomes his friend, you know, turned romance when they start to develop feelings for each other. The next one is My Tauren by Kay Webster. This is about a girl who has grown up in the system since she doesn't have parents, and she has had a really bad experience staying with people who have abused her, and she is not in a good situation. But one day, coming out of therapy, she sees this boy, and he, you know, just stares at her. So the next thing she knows, a few days later, someone comes to take her away. Like, he pays off the foster family that she's with and offers her a place to stay. Like, he buys her, you know, all these clothes, and, you know, just is trying to make her very happy, because it was actually his little brother, which, you know, they aren't children, but it was his brother that saw her, and his brother has autism, and it is very rare that he connects with another person, and he saw that connection, so he wanted her to live with them. This was just about her finding like a true family, and both of the brothers love her, and especially Tauren, who is the one who has autism, and he's like pretty much nonverbal. He can't speak a whole lot, but he's extremely smart. He runs a business with his brother, and I just love this. I love books that are different, especially with a damaged hero. The next one is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is a hate to lovers relationship or trope, and this is about a girl and a guy whose companies join together. You know, they merge together, and they have to work together, but, you know, he doesn't really, he has a more grumpy attitude, and she is more of a sunshine character, and he does not take her very well at first. Like, he doesn't take her cheerfulness, and she thinks he is very rude. And so their friendship, or their work relationship has just really started, their work relationship has started on, very badly. And so they are all the time at each other's throats until they are forced in these close proximity situations, and she turns out to be sick in one situation and he has to take care of her. Feelings arise, and they don't really hate each other. The next one is Him by L.L. Ash. This is also another age gap. I would compare it to Birthday Girl. It's not the same situation, but it is very similar. It's really the only book that I have read that has come close to Birthday Girl. So if you like Birthday Girl, I really recommend reading Him by L.L. Ash. This is about a girl who she and her best friend are going to stay at her friend's house, her friend's dad's house, when they go off to college to avoid paying rent for a dorm. And so they go to live with her best friend's dad, and then her best friend kind of just abandons her at her dad's place because she wants to join a sorority. So she is left in this house with her best friend's dad, and they really have amazing chemistry together. They like a lot of the same things, and feelings arise between them. And it was so good. I loved it. I love finding, something similar to Birthday Girl. The next one is Win Some, Lose Some by Shay Savage. This is about these teenagers who are in high school. They're about to graduate, and the hero has autism, and he is in a fender bender one day, and so the heroine picks him up and starts, taking him back and forth to school while his car is being worked on. And this was the beginning of their friendship. They become friends, which turns into a romance, and it is so cute. And it just shows also a lot about what he goes through on a daily basis with autism, and how, a relationship works when he's autistic and she's not. The next one is Frayed Silk by Ella Fields. This is a couple who are, their marriage is struggling because he has completely shut down on his wife. He has shut her out. He won't hardly communicate with her. He won't hardly have anything to do with her anymore. And she has tried so many times to, figure out what has happened. And now she is just ready for divorce because she can't keep living like this. And then she gets male attention from this guy that she works with at the food bank. And there is a lot of troubles in their marriage because she ends up cheating. There is cheating in the book. But I like this book because this is a book truly about second chances. Because her mistakes, she makes mistakes, he makes mistakes. And all of this is brought to light, but they choose to forgive each other for these mistakes because we are humans. We make mistakes. We do things sometimes that are not right, but there is a chance to be forgiven. And then once, they work through their troubles and they have a wonderful marriage again. And that's what I really like seeing. The next one is Behind the Bars by Brittany C. Cherry. This is about Jasmine and Elliot. They become friends in high school. Elliot is bullied at school, and Jasmine is going through a lot from her mom, trying to force her into having this pop music career. And then they get separated for like 6 years. A tragedy happens, and Elliot is not the same guy that she knew. And she is just shocked about what has happened and how cold Elliot has become. And she, slowly draws him out of himself again, and because she is like Elliot's lifeline. And the last one is Lilac by BB Reed. This was a reverse harem rock star romance. This was about a girl named Braxton who becomes the lead guitarist for this band. And the band has 3 other members that are all guys. And at first they can't stand, you know, her. They don't want her to be a part of their band. But, you know, they need her, and once they start getting to know her, feelings arise, and they all want her, so they kind of agree to share her. So that is, you know, how it becomes a reverse harem. It was really good. This was BB Reed's first reverse harem, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope she writes more. Those are all of my favorite standalone books that I read in 2020. Let me know what your favorite standalones were that you read in 2020. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.